Good day, my name is Sky, and I appreciate you spending some study time with me. I'm here to help you make money in online poker by teaching you key strategies and getting you to take action. Man, I am so excited about this episode because I am all about aggression in poker. I truly believe that aggression wins, and passivity, calling, checking for the most part are losing plays. Well, for myself, for the rest of the month of December, I'm taking on the Razor Fold Only Challenge, and I want you to do it for at least 1 week of this month. Go on and do it for the full month if you enjoyed that week. But in this podcast, I'm going to give you the rules for the Razor Fold Only Challenge. I'm going to give you the goals that you're going to attain by doing the challenge and some helpful tips. Now, you need to go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod518, because on the page, I have a video embedded. I'm doing this podcast twice, once as a totally separate video and once right here as a podcast. In the video, when I give you the helpful tips, I cover hand examples that kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. And those are worth seeing in themselves. Right now in the podcast, I'm going to, like I said, go over the rules, the goals, and the helpful tips. But seeing those hands and also seeing my students' results that inspired this challenge will help convince you to take on the challenge for at least the next week. So again, go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod518 to watch that video. Without further ado, let's do this. Gambate!
10.99.
Yes! I'm tough, Creasy.
Yeah? No such thing as tough. There's trained, and then there's untrained. And now which are you?
Trained.
Trained. Okay, let's go again.
All right, the pre-flop raise or fold only challenge. You're going to do this for 1 week. Now, there are 2 rules to this one. Rule number 1 is no limping. That means you do not limp first in. You do not over limp as well. What you do instead is you just fold, or you raise over any limpers. And a key idea here is if you raise over limpers, they already put in 1 big blind because they want to see the flop. When you raise, they are probably going to call. Actually, you should expect a call because they still want to see that flop. So only raise with hands that you're fine taking to the flop against the limper. Rule number 2, no calling raises. That means somebody raises first in, you do not call. You do not raise first in and then call a 3-bet. You don't cold call a 3-bet from the big blind. None of that. What you do instead, if somebody else raises, you just fold or you 3-bet. If you're the open raiser, you can fold against a 3-bet or 4-bet yourself. If you're the 3-better, you can fold versus a 4-bet or 5-bet. All of this basically means that you cannot call. Fold or raise are your only options. However, there's one exception. There's always an exception. You can call all in because you can't re-raise. Let's imagine somebody open raised. You 3-bet with pocket kings. It comes back around to him. The open raiser shoves all in for 100 big blinds. Well, you can't re-raise him, right? But you can't fold. You got pocket kings. Yes, it's okay in this instance to click the call button because you will not fold. Now, here are the goals that you can expect to achieve by doing this challenge. The first, you're going to break the habit of calling and you're going to learn that you can find a fold. It's okay to fold Jack 10 suited because the circumstances are ugly pre-flop. The flop that you can expect to see, the opponents you're going to be up against, you don't want to deal with that. Go ahead and fold Jack 10 suited. You're also going to teach yourself the value of raising versus calling. Now, calling is hopeful poker. When you call pre-flop, you hope to hit something on the flop. When you call the flop, you hope to hit the turn. But instead, aggression is winning poker. Aggression wins pots with bluffs, and it builds pots for value. Plus, when you're that pre-flop raiser, you're the one c-betting, putting additional pressure on your opponents, and you're going to be winning for that. When you're always calling, you're the one facing c-bets. Poker's much tougher and less profitable that way. Also, you're going to teach yourself to consider non-calling options. Somebody's going to open raise. You're going to look down at your hand. You're going to say, oh, I really want to play this hand, but I can't call. Can I 3-bet instead? And you're going to end up finding 3-bets that you would have never found in the past because that call button is off limits. Another thing you'll achieve from this is you're going to avoid difficult spots. I imagine most of the tough spots that you face, you get to it and you say to yourself, geez, how did I get myself into this spot? Well, most of the time, it's probably because you called a pre-flop. when you should have folded or could have re-raised. And the last thing you'll achieve is immediate improved results, especially if you're a losing caller right now. All right, some helpful tips for you. First off, just allow yourself to fold more. Give yourself that permission, because tight play is winning play in the microstakes. And an interesting thing, a tight image, especially versus perceptive players who may be using a HUD or paying attention to their opponents, that tight image is going to allow you to bluff more successfully. They're going to believe your 3-bets. Also, realize that they are not going to know what you're doing. Most of your opponents at the microstakes just do not pay enough attention to their opponents and what they're doing from a session-to-session basis. So don't worry about that. And even if you play on a long-running site, or not a long-running, on a site where you have long-running stats and a lot of hands on your opponents have all these hands on you as well. If they see that you're a 22-20 player, you've been calling plenty in your history with them, you've been 3-betting a lot, they're not going to necessarily pick up on the fact that you're not calling in this session right now. But if they are adjusting and you're thinking they're re-raising and bluffing you more, go ahead and tighten up your open raising and your 3-betting ranges so that you can better and more often defend against their re-raises. And because you can't call a lot, you need to look ahead for 3-betters before you open raise. If there's a ton of 3-betters and you know you just cannot defend with the hand that you have, just fold it. Get out of there. Also, make a ton of C-bets. You're going to be the pre-flop raiser more often than you ever have been in the past. So utilize that C-betting power to push them off their hands and win more pots. Also, you'll often be confronted by somebody, open raising. It's folded to you and you have a great old calling hand like the Jack-10 suited, pocket fives, hands you would in a heartbeat call in the past. But now you want to turn some of those calls into 3-bets if you believe that they can find a fold. So if their range of open raising is potentially like a stealing range, maybe they're in the MP, the cutoff, or the button, maybe their size indicates weakness. Maybe you've seen them make a 3 big blind open before with pocket jacks, but a 2.2 big blind open with ace-9 offsuit. Or maybe their tendencies, heck, they fold a ton versus 3-bets. And those ace-X blockers, like a suited ace-10 or ace-5, those are great because they block your opponent from having pocket aces, ace-king, ace-queen, frequent defending hands. So if everything is in place and it looks like they can find a fold, 3-bet to 9 or more big blinds to get them to fold. You're going to be folding a lot more. You can't click that call button. So use any calling chips for raises. Let's imagine you're in the big blind. Somebody open raises. You look down at 9-8 offsuit. You would normally call, but you're going to fold. That 1 or 2 big blinds that you're saving by not calling, use those in a future hand for aggression. It's like a discount on a future open raise and ISO raise, a future 3-bet. And lastly, play on full tables, whether it's 6-max or full ring, because being in the blinds more often, that makes it rather hard to play as a raise or fold only game. All right, now it's time for you to take action. If you haven't already gone to the show notes page, do it right now, smartpokerstudy.com/pod518. And of course, for the next week, do the raise or fold only pre-flop challenge. Don't hesitate, there's only 2 rules to this, and I guarantee you'll achieve some great things from doing this challenge. Good luck to you, and gambate!